Hey y'all, Monk Joseph here with the Broken Buddha. Today I want to talk about my 182 IQ, which is definitively a super genius IQ. Now, this is not going to be like a bragging or boasting video. It's actually going to be more about my life as somebody who's had that IQ. It hasn't been all bad, but it's been pretty bad. And it's definitely not all good. What people don't understand about this is you actually want to have, what you may not even realize it, but you want to have an average IQ. Everything in society in the world is designed to appeal to and be used by an average IQ. If you have a super high IQ, the chances of you becoming functional within society are highly unlikely. Um, yeah. Anyway, so I'll just jump right into it. When I was 11 years old, my mother thought that I was slow and I had like some type of learning disability. So she had me tested. She had my IQ tested. And by the way, IQ tests are very complex between children and adults and all the different types of tests. So I'm going to very much oversimplify all of this. So if you're like an expert on IQ tests, you'll just have to bear with whatever I can give you. So when they tested me, it turned out that they said borderline, but it was, I put the two averages together. On one of the tests, I was slightly under a super genius. And then on the other test, I was slightly above super genius. But, it's simple math, which I can at least do and figured out it. So, 182 was the average. So that's why it was doctor tested. It was when I was a child. And whatever, man, it is what it is. But when I say like things were bad, it's when you're an 11-year-old kid and you start telling people that you're a super genius because your parents aren't smart enough to tell you that it's a terrible life choice, things get bad, like really bad. Even to this day at 41, if I tell somebody that I'm a super genius or what my IQ is, they will think that I'm calling them stupid. Not like actively, but you can tell like they're instantly like have this look of like, I don't know, like you've put them down or something. And even if it comes up in random conversation, even if they ask you what your IQ is, they're still going to hear you calling them dumb. Beyond that, if you've ever seen the videos on here, I did grow up in a pretty solidly abusive household, and things got a lot worse after that. My stepfather, who was already assaulting me out of some form of aggressive paranoid schizophrenia, got a lot worse because now he thinks I'm doing everything intentionally because I'm so smart. And one of the main problems is that people that are manipulative tend to think everyone's trying to manipulate them, especially if they meet somebody smarter than them, because they'll be like, "Well, I'm smart enough to manipulate people, and that was a choice I made from being smart. So if you're smarter than me, that must mean that you want to manipulate people too." And it's like, dude, like chill. But this is pretty common. That I have this situation. I get this a lot with people that are pretty smart, smarter than most people, but not smarter than me. Um, yeah, they'll over long time period relationships, I've met a few people in my life that are pretty smart people, and at the end of the day, it's like there's some weird social dichotomy that splits us because they think that's some part of it. I mean, and most of the people, to be honest, the people I'm talking about, they put a lot of time and energy into manipulating people and pride themselves on manipulating people. So I'd call that karma if they get this weird paranoia that I'm trying to manipulate them. I don't manipulate people. Yeah, I have a personal theory that like, if you're really smart, then you'll realize that symbiosis is the way to get things done and to have a more functional, successful society. But society doesn't agree, and most people don't agree. They'll say they do, but they're not going to do anything actually symbiotic. They're still going to keep manipulating and stuff like that. So there's that. Trying to think. Socially, it's a freaking nightmare. The only places it really helped me out was if you looked at my channel, the way that my brain was able to break down kung fu, qigong, and yoga, and religion, more specifically enlightenment training, was just incredible. I mean, in my enlightenment training, I still talk to some pretty top tier yogis and geishas around the world, and they're both the two main ones I talked to are both pretty famous, and but we enjoy talking. It was very controversial, beginning to our friendship. But I mean, I made it that far with it, and I still talk to them to this day. So, anybody who watches my kung fu, what I enjoy doing with my IQ in kung fu was not only being able to figure it out to a greater extent than other people, but I noticed that I can bridge information gaps with my brain. So, that's why if you ever see my kung fu section or any of my kung fu stuff or my WTVA stuff, it's just I'm trying to bridge gaps and create new ways and visualizations for people to understand things. The more ways, if you can't understand something fully, then the more ways you have to understand it, the better chance you have of understanding it. And reanalogizing when I teach things is like one of my strengths. I can reanalogize all day. Some people get really out of control with trying to reanalogize things with their own words without being able to use accurate words to do it, and that kind of irritates me. But for the most part, it does help that I can reanalogize those things. And same thing with yoga and qigong, man. The 5 yogas I found, the ways that I found to clean and keep healthy your fascial and visceral layers in your body was incredible. I mean, whatever, man. I don't really take credit for this stuff because it's just this thing inside my head. I don't like to identify who I am with what this is, because your conscious mind does not allow you to process nearly as much as you think it does. So, I mean, yeah, it won't leave me alone until I solve a problem. Or let me, sometimes I'm not allowed to sleep because my brain wants to solve a problem, and for some reason it supersedes my sleep. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, all those things have been pretty good except for the beginning. So I guess, summing up, it was really bad in the beginning, but it's gotten a little better, but it's still pretty bad. I don't function well in social dichotomies and stuff like that. I mean, think about it. If you were, like I said, I'm 41. So if you were in your 40s and, you think some things, you're a pretty smart person, you've done well in life, and then you just start to have a random conversation with some guy who just makes you feel dumb and weak. And I don't do this. I don't talk in a way that makes you feel dumb and weak, but I can tell that it happens. So I either try to keep conversations short, or I will try to alleviate their concerns within themselves by expressing realities like this. Like, it's not what you think it is. So again, you don't want to have, I will tell you definitively, you might think that you want to be able to prove and accept that you're smart, but you don't want a 182 IQ. It's not a fun ride. It's been an interesting ride, but it's not a fun ride. And you would think that, academia or the government would try to pick me up, but that stuff doesn't happen, man. That stuff's only in the movies. When I took the ASVAB and aced it pretty solid, I did have an Air Force recruiter, try to recruit me. And at this time, I kind of wish I would have, but I didn't understand what they were offering. I didn't understand the program. They were offering me the crypto program. I didn't know that was, a computer, like an advanced IT, gray, what are they called? Gray hat hackers or something program. I didn't know what it was. And beyond that, I just, childhood was hell. Childhood in the lower middle class America in the 80s and 90s, as somebody has a hot 182 IQ was hell, straight up. And of course, there's more hells and worse hells that people experience as a child, but I mean, it was pretty bad. So, and furthermore, beyond the IQ, I do perceive it to be there could be some like variation of autism or Asperger's there. My mom didn't send me to observation phase after the IQ test because the textbook hadn't come out yet. That's actually a really funny thing. I got concerned enough about this that I looked into it, and the medical text to diagnose an 11-year-old with autism and Asperger's didn't come out until 94. Remember what year I told you I got that test? Yeah, I was 11 in 94 when that book came out. So I missed it by like a thin line. Or I just had a bad doctor, or, a lazy parent. It's not important. I don't want to talk about that stuff. So yeah, it's this thing. I see these things where, like, the guy with the highest IQ on the planet right now wasn't even tested. It's just speculation. They're like, oh, he looks like he has a 230 IQ. Like, what? But he was never tested by a doctor. And you're supposed to take multiple tests like I did, right? You're not supposed to take one test and then, oh, you've got a 230 IQ because you got one test. You have to take multiple tests, and they have to be different. So yeah, I thought that's pretty neat these days. And it's look up the highest IQs in the world and in history, and you'll see what I mean. First, they're like, we can't actually answer that question, but These two or three guys had the highest IQs. And then you look into those guys and they never had their IQs tested. It's just a general speculation. So I find that interesting because, yeah, I mean, if I had different tutelage in life and I had parents who were more into developing their children educationally and psychologically, I'm sure sky's the limit. I'm sure I wouldn't have this YouTube channel and I'd be off somewhere doing whatever the heck people that have higher function with those IQs do. But yeah, it's the reality of it. And I just wanted to share this because it's I think it's one of those widely misunderstood things in society. I'm sure when you first started this video, if you made it this far, you thought it was going to be like bragging or thing, and it's not, man. Like I grew up in Baltimore, yeah, and they didn't care about education back then like they did now. I mean, they were starting to get into it, but it was still like really low, even in the schools and stuff, you know. And it didn't help that my parents tried to give me meth. I think they called it Adderall. Yeah, Adderall actually has the word methamphetamine in the name, the scientific name. But I guarantee you, they did not look into the scientific name because I grew up in that like big pharma era where doctors were like intentionally changing the scientific names of things so that you didn't know you were giving your kids methamphetamine. But yeah, I'm sure that didn't help my psychological and educational development. So yep, that's it. I guess I'll stop there. Yeah, it really blew my mind that the highest IQs in the world and in history in our society are not tested. They're just speculated. It's like that is the most mind-blowing weird thing to me when it comes to, establishing things. You're told that like these things are like established and they're not. Like and also IQ also there's a lot of things that they don't include in IQ tests. I forgot what all it was. It's like emotional intelligence. That's not included, which has a huge part of how you process and how you go through life. I can't remember what the other two were. There were three things that are very important in evaluating somebody's intelligence. But again, personally, I don't even agree with that because emotional IQ is a completely different situation, and you get that from so many different routes and avenues. Like somebody who's got a lot of fight time is going to be a lot more have a much higher emotional IQ in a confrontation than somebody who hasn't had a lot of fight time. So that has nothing to do with how you're born. Yeah, so there you have it. I'm done. I just wanted to run down on you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was informative. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the sections. Try to play nice. And thanks for stopping by. Peace and blessings.